Let's start with language. All important. We're going to sit down with Juliette Harancot and we're going to talk about why it's so important and, of course, talk about the actual specificities of visa change and residency card changes that are going to happen in 2026. So let's not worry about it. Let's go and talk to Juliette. Juliette.
Hi, Richard.
Hi. So first question, let's jump into it. Do I need to learn French before I move to France?
So, in fact, we can advise yes, just to make sure you have good integration in the French community. But for the visitor visa, you do not need to have any French test or any French level. So
no.
Yeah, exactly.
So legally, no.
Yeah.
But culturally, probably it's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. We advise to do it.
There's also things like the Alliance Française, which are available throughout.
Yeah. It's a private company. They propose French class everywhere in France, I think in all the big cities. So it's easy to access. They can adapt the class.
And all over the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Also.
So in America, for instance, there's chapters everywhere.
Yeah, remotely.
We're an annual sponsor of the Alliance, and it is actually also in combination with the French government that they work. So definitely worth checking out. We'll put a link in the description if you don't already know how to find them. So talking about language requirements, people are saying in 2026 things are happening.
Yes. So for the visitor visa, we will not need to have any French tests. But for some other title, like residency card for 10 years, a pluriannual card, citizenship, you will need to have a level of French. And to prove to the authorities you have a diploma A2 or B2, depends of which title. So for the residency card for 10 years, it's A2, pluriannual card also. And for the citizen, it's A2, except if you are older than 65 years old.
So if you're over 65 years old, that doesn't apply. If you're under 65 years old, it can apply, but there's always an option for a yearly renewal without any French.
Yeah, absolutely. In any case, the residency card for 10 years, it's you can apply only after 5 years in France and generally let time to people to learn French and to have the B2 level.
So,
A2 level.
Yeah, and it's going from A1, which is beginner, to advanced beginner, and then B1 level, which is quite a good level of French, to a B2 level, which is even higher. So again, not to scare anyone here, you can totally just not have that level, even if you're less than 65, and just renew your residency card every year.
Absolutely. You can stay with the visitor. It's not an issue. You can renew the visitor visa if you prefer. But honestly, we advise to take the 5 years to integrate the French community, to learn French, because A2, it's not so high level. It's a minimum to be comfortable with French people. And after you can obtain the 10 years card, which is the most comfortable situation. Yeah,
for most of our clients. And just to clarify that situation, any visa, no matter what type of visa, whether it would be a business visa, an independent working visa, a visitor visa, does not have a level of French in order to apply for it.
No.
And then you move on to what people call a carte de séjour temporaire, which is a yearly renewal, which again, no matter of your age, does not have a level of French.
No, because it's stay the visitor. So no worries.
So no need to worry for those that struggle with learning quickly. But as Juliette was mentioning, really worthwhile looking into this and learning how to speak French just for your cultural integration at first.
Yeah, absolutely. It's most comfortable to be part of the community, to make sure you understand, to make sure you live. Yeah, it's more comfortable for people, generally.
A quick word about money transfer. Now, we're talking about buying houses, how your cost of living is going to work in France, setting up bank accounts. One alternative that we really recommend to all of our clients, and we use it for our own business, is Wise. Wise is essentially a technology solution provider to exchange currency. But not just that. It also allows you to hold currencies. It allows you to have a debit card that works all over the world. And pretty much allows you to set up all of the direct debits that you'll need when you're moving to France. So it's a great alternative to opening a French bank account, and it's a lot easier. If you go in the description link below, you'll find your link, which will give you some real advantages with our special relationship that French Connections has with Wise. So don't miss the opportunity to open up your free account. Go in the description box today. Another question that's coming in very often is how does my French need to be to stay long terms? Now, this is obviously very personal in a way, because some people might be quite introvert and don't want to communicate with others. But overall, what do you see with the clients that we're working with that have been here for many years?
Depends of the case. Some of them, they do not speak really good French. I know they are part of English expat community in France. But some of them, they do a lot of effort. They try to translate, to take French class, to be part of group. So they connect with each other. And after, also depends if you really want to learn French, if it's easy for you also to learn, because French is not the easiest language for sure to speak and to learn. So yeah, after, just adapt to your evolution and try to meet people, to integrate some groups, and for sure.
But there are lots of options,
yeah, definitely,
in terms of learning, and I think that's what I find with clients that are there, is that often, actually, once they're in France, they find groups, but they also find tutors that can come maybe face to face. Everyone's different, right? Some people want to do stuff online.
Absolutely. I just think about a couple. They arrive, of course, in the same time. She speaks better French, than her husband, which is funny because they do exactly the same class, everything. She's just maybe less scared than him to talk. She doesn't care to do mistake when she talks French.
Maybe a few glasses of wine help.
Yeah, probably. After a few hours during the apéro in France, that can help, that's for sure. But I think it's the key. It's to not be scared. People are not going to judge, that's for sure. And French people appreciate to have expats who do the effort to speak French. That is for sure. And when I learn English personally, it's something you told me. Don't be scared. If you stay respectful, people are not going to remind you did a mistake about this word or this word. I think it's the same in France, honestly. So just don't be scared, practice, and it's going to be okay.
Don't be scared.
Yeah.
Or maybe have wine for breakfast. Who knows? Maybe not that one, guys. So following on from that, Juliette, other than having the courage to do so, another question that comes in a lot is, can I attend language school after arrival? I actually was speaking to one of our clients, Grant, if you're watching. Hi, Grant. And he was actually in Paris, and he's attending some free classes that you can register for in larger cities, etc. So there's an awful lot of things, cultural things, that you can register for free. But there are also many options of private tutors, and lessons. Is that something that we can help with?
Yeah, definitely. After, it depends, of course, where you live in France. But we can do some research about the town if they propose some help. I'm not surprised Grant could find something in Paris for free. France is quite popular to propose some French class for free, and in general, we have free school. So I'm not surprised about it. But definitely we can help to find because some people, they prefer to do it remotely in video call. Some people, they prefer to be in a group physically. Some people, they prefer to have a personal French teacher. So we can adapt and find exactly what you need and what you want. So no, it's not an issue.
And that's part of our VIP package.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's great. And the next question that comes along is like, can I integrate without speaking fluent French?
Of course, yes. Hopefully.
Yeah, but there are areas as well potentially where English is more widely spoken. I think, like places like Paris, Nice, these days, Bordeaux, even a lot of the people that are actually moving to these places are moving there because there's expatriate communities.
Yeah, I agree, but not that
Maybe you
much. Because it's funny, I grew up in Bordeaux. I didn't have so much the occasion to speak English. And finally, when I moved to the countryside in the Gers, when I walked, I met a lot of English people, and I spoke more English in the Gers than in Bordeaux. It was just crazy, but it's real. So honestly, depends of where you are. English community is everywhere, especially in Dordogne also. In the Gers, we have a lot of English expats. So I think don't be scared. If you want to be part of English expat group, I'm sure we can find everywhere in France some group.
And more Americans are moving, etc. But I think there's also something that is probably worth noting culturally, and there's been a shift of that over the years that I've noticed. Growing up in France, English. I was probably one of the first English speaking children in my class. And then there were more English people or Dutch people, etc., coming. But what I noticed as well, and I think people maybe don't know necessarily, is they might think that actually there's a reticence towards speaking English or trying to speak English. But culturally, France resisted the French or the English language so much so that if there's an advert on television or on the radio, and there's a English like slogan or kind of saying, it has to be translated into French afterwards. So even brands like Peugeot or Airbus and all of these things would have to translate it into French. And so there's been a fight for a long time to keep the French language and not use English speaking tools, even like credit scorings and things like that were just not brought in. So it's not that people don't want to speak English, it's just that it's only been allowed to do so for younger generations, probably for the last 10 years, or accepted, sorry.
I think there is an evolution, honestly, maybe because with the social media, we're today so connected to all the world. So I could see an evolution. People, and a lot of people watch movie in the original language, so in English.
How can you not?
So, no, I could see an evolution, honestly. Some people, they can not speak fluently English, but they can like connect with other people. But also those
generations have become more open to it.
I agree.
So honestly, the younger generations definitely have.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think we noticed that a lot with our clients will say, go to the younger people, they might speak, yeah?
No, I think they can be racial. People, they can say hello, thank you, try to understand. We speak with the hands in France also, so we can understand.
So this is good, guys. You're going to be able to speak and integrate with younger people when you move to France. And that brings us into the cultural differences. One of the biggest things that I remind people is that France has culturally a desire to keep hold of its language, but also uses the third person of plural when you don't know people.
Yeah.
So my argument is that's why the language of business is English, not because it's easier to learn, but just there's no barrier. You can talk in first name terms, which of course in France you don't do.
No.
When you don't know someone, they use the vouvoiement.
Absolutely.
And it's quite an odd kind of thing to understand, how to work around that. And people can perceive it perhaps as being rude or cold or distant. But actually it's not. It's just the way that we work. But if you don't really know how to speak French all that well, it'll be fine if you don't vouvoie, right? People would understand that.
No, for sure. I understand it's not going to be logic for an English speaker. Yeah. But the basic rule is if you don't know the person, it's more a respect proof to use the vouvoiement.
Yes.
Especially in profession.
You vouvoie an older person.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes older people told me you can use the tutoiement.
Yes.
But I'm not comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just most if you do not know the person, if the person is oldest, and in a professional situation also.
It's the best way I can describe it is like saying sir or ma'am to every opening sentence in English. And that is something that people really need to understand, is that it's actually just a form of politeness, which then lays into a distance. I found that in the professional world, I hated it because it meant that I was so distant from my clients that I couldn't talk about personal stuff like finances, etc., very quickly. But at the same token, with an employer, it's pretty good because it keeps a barrier, an invisible barrier between your boss and yourself, and maybe you won't cross that. So it has some benefits, some advantages, but you've really got to be aware of this when you're learning French and potentially from visiting France, because it might come off as standoffish. It's actually just a polite way of being.
Yeah, after it's just understand
more
how
formal.
Yeah,
well.
but just understand how that works and why we use that, and it's just French culture. But don't be scared if you use the tutoiement and not the vouvoiement. It's gonna be okay. Nobody is going to be shocked, or we do not feel like bad if you use the words, not the good one. So yeah, don't be stressed. It's okay. People are going to understand. It's not like natural.
Yeah, for sure.
English
but
speaker,
it's still something that's really important.
No, it's important to understand it.
This is a big cultural difference.
And also, if people use the vouvoiement,
yes,
don't be surprised. It's quite normal.
It's a form of politeness.
Absolutely.
And it's more formal than it really is, and it's such a difficult thing to do when you've spent. My life in business has been in English or American English.
The same in my, as I'm French speaker, when I write an email in English, I think about vouvoiement. Yeah. In my mind, it's not tutoiement. I do not say tu, I say vous. It's more because it's logic for me to have this respect and this distance with the clients. But it's just my mind is French.
That's fair enough. I mean, I think that's kind of covered that cultural difference. Other cultural differences, of course, other than language, are going to be just adapting to the pace of life, which is very different between Paris and the Gers, for instance.
Yeah, in the Gers, maybe it's going to be more the tutoiement.
And then the last question that we'd cover is that we've been asked a lot, and this is thank you to all of you guys watching and putting these in comments. We're really picking up on these. Is also what French level is required to work in France. I mean, that's a good one. I mean, obviously to work, you need a different type of permit. Yeah. You can exchange, you could have to do requests to be able to change your visa type to be able to work.
Yeah.
But it depends what work you do. I guess if you're a waitress or a waiter, that's going to be pretty difficult to not understand French. If you're going to be a consultant for other English speakers, then it's all good, right? Yeah. So another question following up on this is, and thank you all for watching and putting these questions to us. French level required to work. Is there a French level required to work? Well, that really depends on the company, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. So in some company, you will need to have some vocabulary, that's for sure. Also to connect with your colleagues, I think it's important.
I think that's more the thing. It's like, even if they were dealing with English.
Yeah, after it depends of the company, especially if it's a company which is in touch with all the world. Generally, people can speak English, but as we say, we advise to have basic level of French to connect with people, but also depends of your work, definitely.
But if you're setting up your own business destined to English speakers, then you wouldn't need to have a level of French to do so. And you'd clearly have to change your visa type, but you wouldn't have to have a level of French.
Yeah, definitely.
But one thing that I could recommend is make sure that you've got an English-speaking accountant to make sure that you understand how to set things up, because whilst you won't need to speak French to your clients, you still will need to report into the French system.
Yeah, and it's so important to understand, because for French people also that can be complicated. So really, it's good advice to have an English speaker accountant to make sure you understand everything, and you can also deal correctly with your clients, because
we've got that in our team, guys. But we obviously try to not just plug ourselves in these videos, but these are just top tips. Make sure that you get that right, because it's a key thing and it becomes stressful. If you found this episode useful and you've liked the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're feeling really generous, go and share it with somebody that you think would like to watch this. Also, as usual, if you want to book a call with us, you can go in the description links below and you can schedule a call at your convenience to talk about your relocation. We look forward to making this move to France easy for you.